At 1:30 a.m. on September 14, 2010, Barbara Tinder, who was working an overnight shift at her job, called at her home in Lindsey Drive, Orange, Virginia, to check on her kids, who were alone in the house. Barbara was expecting her 19-year-old daughter Samantha to answer the phone, but it was her 12-year-old son Hunter who picked it up, and when Barbara asked him about his sister, the boy replied by saying Sissy left. He said that before leaving, Samantha told him that she would be back in the morning. Though Barbara was concerned about her daughter, as this was the first time she had left her home after dark, but knowing her, she thought that Samantha wouldn't leave without any solid reason and she would be back in the morning. But she was wrong in her assumption, and it's been 13 years since that fateful night and there's still no sign of Samantha anywhere, and no one knows what happened to her. Barbara Tinder was in her teens when she moved in with her partner, who was much older than her. She had to drop out of high school as she was pregnant, and on July 17, 1991, she gave birth to a girl whom she named Samantha Clarke. The couple split up soon after, and Samantha, for a big chunk of her life, was raised by her father. In 2003, at the age of 12, Samantha moved in with her mother, who lived in the town of Orange, Virginia, and the mother-daughter duo became inseparable and shared a bond which cannot be described in words. A graduate from Orange County High School, Samantha had a small group of friends she was close with. Samantha had an active presence on social media, and she would regularly share updates on her Facebook and MySpace profile. On the evening of Friday, September 10, 2010, after attending a football game, Samantha and Barbara went to the Northside Bar on US Route 29 to hang out with some of their friends. It was in this bar that Samantha met two young men who were in their 20s. Barbara recalls that the man and Samantha exchanged numbers, and one of them gave Samantha and her a ride home. Barbara said that 2 days after their visit to the bar, one of the men took Samantha along a ride repo with him. But when his girlfriend, who didn't adore the idea of him hanging out with other girls, found out about it, things got heated, and Samantha and the man's girlfriend were involved in a scuffle. On September 13, 2010, Barbara, who had to work a night shift, left her house on Lindsey Drive in Orange, Virginia. She said that before she left the house that night, she saw Samantha watching TV on the couch while her 12-year-old son Hunter, who had to go to school in the morning, was in his room upstairs. At 12:30 a.m., her phone rang, and it was a call from their home's landline. She didn't answer the call, as at that moment she was occupied in her work. 1 hour later, at 1:30, she had a break, and the first thing she did was to call her home's landline number. Her son Hunter answered the call, and when Barbara inquired about Samantha, the 12-year-old replied by saying Sissy left, and went on to tell that he was in his room when Samantha came upstairs and told him that she was heading outside and would be back by the morning. He said that she didn't tell him where she was going. Barbara became concerned about Samantha, as this was the first time she left home after dark, and on top of that, she didn't have her cell phone on her, as Samantha and Barbara shared the phone and she took it to the work with her that night. Barbara thought that Samantha must have a valid reason to leave home after dark. Maybe she is at a friend's house and would be back in the morning. So after reassuring herself, she went back to work and returned home 7 in the morning. Samantha still wasn't home, and the pajamas she had worn last night was laying on her bed, and she had taken her set of house keys. It was still early in the morning, so Barbara prepared Hunter for school, and after dropping him at school, she laid in her bed to rest as she was exhausted from work. Hours went by and Samantha still hadn't returned home. Barbara was now becoming increasingly worried, and she began to call Samantha's friend and asking them about her, but none of them had any clue where Samantha was. Barbara says that after this she went straight to police to report that Samantha's missing, but she was told in order to lodge a missing person report she had to wait for 48 hours, but that wasn't true, as there is no waiting period before you can file a missing person report. Barbara was misinformed, but she didn't just sit idle for that 48-hour period, as she, along with her sister, drove around town trying to find Samantha. Barbara then went to Orange Police Department, and it was on 15 September that they officially began to investigate Samantha's disappearance. Police, with the help of Barbara Tinder, managed to put together a timeline of events leading up to Samantha's disappearance, and their suspicion immediately fell on the man Samantha met at the bar just few days before she vanished. Detectives interviewed the two men and the girlfriend who had a fight with Samantha, and it was through them that they learned about Randy Taylor, who was in their circle and met Samantha at the bar on the night of September 10, 2010. He was also present during the ride repo. Police also checked into Samantha's phone record and found out about a number which had called her several times on the night she went missing. The number belonged to Randy Taylor, and when police approached him about this, he immediately admitted to having met Samantha at the bar and calling her on her cell phone. He said that he called Samantha because he wanted to warn her about one of the men's criminal background and his jealous girlfriend. He said that he messaged Samantha on 13 September, but when he didn't get a reply from her, he called on Samantha's home landline. He said that Samantha picked it up and they talked for a while, but then she hung up before saying that she wanted him to call again. He called back, but this time he heard a male speaking in the background and Samantha hung up on him. Police had their eyes set on Randy Taylor, but they were unable to prove that he met with Samantha on the night she went missing. Randy told police that he was not in the town of Orange that night as he was spending time with his son. Police were doubtful of his alibi, and in hope that Randy will lead them to Samantha, they placed a tracker on his vehicle. But in 2011, when Randy was arrested for the charges of traffic violation and possession of a firearm, he found out about the tracker and sued the Orange Police Department, claiming that they conducted a warrantless search and seizure on his property, and the judge decided in his favor and the charges set against him were quashed. Throughout the first half of 2011, Green Acres Lake, which is in the neighboring county of Greene, was searched for 10 times by Virginia State Police. Though it was never publicly stated what was the purpose of conducting these searches, but it was reportedly suggested that Randy Taylor had some connections to the lake. By 2012, Randy Taylor, who had at this point lost his job, his house and the custody of his son, began to publicly smear Orange Police Department by saying that it was due to their harassment of him that his life went into a downward spiral, and even said that police planted evidence against him. In August of 2013, Alexis Tiara Murphy, a 17-year-old from Nelson County, went missing. She was last seen at a gas station, and in the security footage of the gas station, walking right behind Alexis was Randy Taylor, who was subsequently charged with Alexis Murphy's murder, as upon searching his camper, police found evidence which were enough to prove his guilt, and in July of 2014, Randy Taylor was awarded 2 life imprisonment sentences for Alexis' murder. Randy Taylor, being the main culprit behind Alexis Murphy's disappearance, brought Samantha's case back into news, as Randy Taylor was a suspect in her case from the beginning, and with him set to languish in prison for the rest of his life. People were hopeful that Samantha and her family will finally have some closure, but even after a decade after Randy's conviction, investigation into Samantha Clarke case is just plodding along. In early 2021, shortly after Alexis Murphy's remains were discovered on a private property along US Route 29, citing new information and advancement in forensic technology, Orange Police Department announced that the case of Samantha Clarke has been reclassified as abduction and homicide. They urge people with information to come forward and help them solve this case. It's been a decade since Samantha left her home on that fateful night in September of 2010. Her family still thinks of her and are still in search of the answer as to what happened to Samantha Clarke. In an interview with Dateline, while reminiscing about the time spent with her daughter, Barbara had this to say: "She was a happy girl, she would always stay happy, and if you were sad, she would find a way to make you happy." If you have any information about the case, please contact the Town of Orange Police Department at the number given on the screen. Thanks for watching. If you like this type of content, please like this video and leave a comment behind. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed so you're never gonna miss any of our future uploads. Stay tuned for our next video. Until then, goodbye.